Testing. All right. Welcome to the championship round for the High School Changemaker Challenge. Please go ahead and give yourselves a round of applause for getting here. I want to briefly again thank the Rotary Club of Evansville for making this possible, and specifically the Santa Run. All you young people, go do that 5K. You get to do a 5K in a Santa suit, and the proceeds from that 5K, that's I think the second Saturday in December, make things like this possible. So the proceeds from last year's have made an entire year of change making possible. So thank you to the Rotary Club of Evansville. Thank you to Colin Stanley for being here, former past president. And please give Rotary a round of applause for that. Since we do have a new panel of judges, I'm going to read their name and where they work and just have them wave at you really quickly. We have Al Beatty, who is a UE trustee and with State Farm Insurance. Go ahead. Tara Barney, President and CEO, Southwest Indiana Chamber. Kelly Coors, Executive Director, Department of Metropolitan Development with the city. Our President, Christopher Petroskevich, President of the University of Evansville. Colin Stanley, Financial Advisor with the Stanley Group and former President of Rotary. Our Mayor, the Honorable Lloyd Winnicky, also a UE alumnus, I should say. And finally, Stephanie Terry, Executive Director of the awesome Children's Museum of Evansville. These are 7 pretty busy people, but they're also the people who will help you make your ideas happen. So I hope you connect with them after this competition, and thank you very much for doing this. The next group of people that we absolutely have to thank are your teachers and coaches if they're with you. Events like this don't just happen, and getting supported to do this kind of work doesn't just happen. You're not in a Changemaker class at your school, right? You're doing this outside of your extracurricular activities and everything you're doing. So are your teachers, outside of all those classes and prep periods that they have. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for preparing our citizens to be what we need them to be. So, yes, please. There was also a PSAT being delivered today, so some of them had to go back and deliver that exam. But I'm going to read off the school name and the coach name. If you're here, please come up and receive a small token of our appreciation from Jeff. So first is Bosse High School. The coach is Amy Hood. Next, Boonville High School, Emily Straley. Next, Castle High School, Emily Garrett and Jenna Bunner. Next is Ashley Hills and Brad Lamy with Central, but I think he might be with his... Is Ashley here? Well, come on up and you can take it back. He's with his grandbaby, I think. I believe this is a principal of Central, correct? Well, thank you so much for coming. You're a little busy. Appreciate that. Next, we have Charles A. Tinley Academy from Indianapolis, Lavada Dawson, and Morgan Arthur. Thank you so much for making the trek. All right, Evansville Christian School, Kim Allen and Carrie Stevens. All right, Evansville North High School, Amanda Rexing. Next, Forest Park, Molly Cummings. Is she here? Heritage Hills High School, Elisa Peters. Is she able to be here? Great.
Thank you for filling in, Elisa.
All right, Modern Day High School, Donna Leffler, the inimitable Donna Leffler. Let's play music for you, right? Yes, of course. New Tech Institute, Linda Schaefer. And last but not least, I'm not sure if he could be here today, is Jose Moto with SIG School. You back? Great. Come on up, Jose. All right, these teachers make it possible. One more round of applause for our best high school teachers. All right, no more stalling, students. Just one quick note to keep going. Remember that Bike Share got done by 2 teams who did not win this competition. So no matter what I'm about to say, keep going. Make us help you. Make these people help you. I'm so proud of you. All right, we are live streaming this, so I do need to say for the top 6 teams that are about to compete and the judges, please use the handheld mics as much as you can. That way parents and we can record this for future years. So without further ado, I'm going to announce the top 6 in the order in which you'll compete. It was chosen randomly. So this isn't related to which room you were in or where you scored. This is just a random pulling them out of a hat order of the schedule. So judges, as I read them out, this should be the first team that you'll see. All right. First team in the top 6, and we'll have that team of students come up and receive their award. Is Castle Hope Park. So Jeff is going to hand you your top 6 award and your poster, which you get to put in your slot. As they're coming up, I'll announce the next one. And that is North Team 1. Next envelope, North Team 3. Fourth team is Bossy. Congratulations, guys. Go to work. The fifth team, Boonville Art for Life. Congratulations. And our last team, Castle CBT. All right, as they come up to get their sign and take their place, we're about to get started. Thank you. You are welcome to stay and watch. Students, if you are any chance of competing again, I encourage you to do so. A lot of the teams that have done this before did that. Everyone is welcome to stay. It will also be live streamed, and we'll get started here in just a minute. All right, Castle Hope Park, you want to go ahead and come get set up? We have Dr. Edwards back here at the computer to help you, but we've already got it loaded, so. Testing? Yep. Okay. Do you have and you can also use this one. Okay. And a clicker. That I don't know if we can until you actually you want to go ahead and just play it and test it. It should. They've done a sound testing, so it should be good. I think this is the clicker for in here. Oh, okay. Timing this? Oh, I'll stand. Okay. She is. Okay, we'll just have it come up. Just getting the clicker working. You're welcome to use this one and the handheld. We'll wait till you're ready to get started.
signal him to change it, or he could like.
You can either reach over, do it, or you can receive it. Yeah, we can sit it right here. And then someone behind the podium just pushing that button.
My name is Hope Berkins.
I'm Megan Lowney.
And I'm Molly Eisler.
This is Hope. Now, most 14-year-olds spend their time on the weekends hanging out with friends, maybe go see a movie or hang out at the mall. But Hope can't do these things because she's deaf. My sister is isolated from a community that she can't hear. Our family outings are limited to places that are accessible to her, which are few. And my sister is just one of thousands. Roughly 8% of Indiana's population is deaf, hard of hearing, blind, visually impaired, or has autism. That is 500,000 people. 500,000 people who are prone to feeling isolated because of their one disability. Proportionally, this means that there's around 10,000 people living in Evansville with one of these disabilities. That is the size of 4 undergraduate classes at the University of Evansville. Now, Evansville has made several attempts to provide an inclusive environment, such as Mickey's Kingdom, which is great and wheelchair accessible. But we can still do more. We can still reach further and pull more people out of isolation into our Evansville community. We want to build an inclusive and an accessible park for people with disabilities, a place that welcomes them into our community, a concept called Hope Park. We presented our idea to Brian Holtz, who is the executive director of the Parks and Recreation Department in Evansville, and he has already given us the location of Roberts Park, where the old Roberts Stadium used to be, to center our whole design around. So this means our idea is already becoming a reality. Now, music is the universal language, but yet not everyone can hear it. Not everyone can participate in it. So in Hope Park, we will bring music to the deaf and build a community through this shared experience. We will build an amphitheater, which is something that has long been missed in Evansville since the closing of the Mesker Amphitheater. But ours will be unique. We will have vibrating panels so that the deaf and hard of hearing can stand on these vibrations that beat to the rhythm of music so that they can feel and interpret music through these vibrations rather than physically hearing it. This would give them hope of a welcoming community in the form of music to the deaf and hard of hearing.
Children with autism often don't get enough sensory stimulation. And because of this, they can have behavioral meltdowns, which can lead to them hurting themselves or others. We would like to regulate these urges by providing a playground within our park that has several different textures, things that make sounds, for example, drums, and swings to provide motion for them. That way, they have an outlet for these impulses that can be life-changing for them. We envision social innovation as a new hope for our community by giving hope to people with disabilities. We would like to provide a place within our park that allows people with disabilities to work and provide for their family. We would like to include interactive cash registers and menus so that communication is not a barrier.
To expand on this idea, we would like to include a water feature, not only for the visual appeal, but for the visually impaired to use as an audible reference point in our park. We also want to include a 3D map for the visually impaired to use as a tactile way to get around our park. After interviewing with multiple visually impaired people in Evansville, we found that open areas are extremely challenging for them to get around. This is why we want to include texture sidewalks with edges. And the different colors on our design represent different textures, which will help in measuring distances and direction. While working with the Parks and Recs Department, we estimate this project to be around $2.4 million. If you refer to page 4 in your portfolio, you will see a more detailed budget. With that being said, the Parks and Recs Department has already put aside money to build an amphitheater. This price will also decrease by including different foundations and grants to help fund this project.
A change, a new experience, and an excitement.
I believe it would bring the community together and people could learn more sign. It would be great.
Awesome change to the community because it would make a blind person or somebody with a disability feel included.
It would be a place to come and to socialize and enjoy and have fun together. I would be so inspired. It would be so positive and a great experience.
Evansville needs a place like this so that people will feel included, that people will feel like they're a part of the community. And not only for people with disabilities, but for anyone, and it's welcome. Everyone is welcome. I believe that is very important.
It would change my life. I could make friends here. It would bring hope to my life.
That is what hope looks like. I am personally affected by this because I have watched as my sister has grown up in isolation in our Evansville community. We can change lives by providing a space that is accessible and inclusive to people with disabilities, a place that welcomes them. We can give hope and inspiration to people like my sister. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughtful presentation. My question is, once it's built, does the City of Evansville operate it and maintain it, or how is it sustained going forward?
In the budget, we've talked to the Parks and Recs, Brian Holtz, and he has already put in a maintenance fee for that, and that would be a yearly fee. Yeah, so that's.
The City of Evansville would also potentially fund that, and we would pay taxes and things like that that would go into the park.
So does this exist anyplace else in the country?
No. Not with everything that we want to put in it.
You spoke to some of the characteristics of the users. What's the middle age group? I mean, have you thought about the range of folks that would use this park?
So ideally, we would want to have everyone come to this park because the amphitheater concerts could attract all ranges of age, and the little kids could play on the playground and things like that.
Could your project be completed with partial funding if you didn't get the whole $2.4 million?
We would definitely be able to implement certain things of our park, but we would have to have all of it in order to implement all of it. So.
First of all, good idea.
Thank you.
But have you talked to Mr. Holtz about if the funding couldn't be found for the whole thing, to make improvements to existing parks to include some of these features, like the vibrating spaces for the auditorium, sensory pieces for autistic persons, and those, have you talked to him about making improvements to existing parks like Aiken Park or Bayard Park or Garvin Park, including some of these features if the funding couldn't be found to do a new one?
That could definitely be a possibility, and we have not actually spoken to him on that because as soon as we presented our idea, he said to center our entire design around Roberts Park because they were actually already planning on making an amphitheater in there, and so they already have funds for an amphitheater.
Where and what is the closest example or proof of what you guys are looking at?
So there's some sensory playgrounds in St. Louis and other parts of the country, but as far as the vibrating panels, that's never been done in an amphitheater before. There are similar things in Australia as for vibrating dance floors and things like that, but we would still have to work with engineers and modify it to get completely what we want to do in our amphitheater.
In your conversations with Brian, did you have any discussions about the swimming pool and ice skating rink adjacent to this area and how you might incorporate some of the sensory activities and textures and so forth in those venues as well?
We have not specifically talked to him about that, but he said that the surrounding areas with that being there actually attracts more people to our playground as well. So,
thank you.
Do you need this?
You want to move over a little? You guys ready?
All right.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashlyn Thompson, and these are my partners, Jalen Davis and Jamie Bourne. Before we begin, picture this.
Hey, Jalen, doing anything Friday?
Nothing much, really.
I was thinking maybe want to go eat with me downtown?
Yeah, but what are we going to do afterwards?
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Pause. Evansville, we have a problem. We have so much opportunity here, but struggle with answering these 3 issues. After a hard day's work, there are not that many places for both children and adults to go and just relax and de-stress. An excessive amount of stress can cause depression, anxiety, heart attacks, and even strokes.
Another issue we hope to deal with deals with the future of Evansville itself and its future. The NARA says that millennials are the largest home buying group in the housing market, and Evansville is actually one of the top 10 target areas for millennial home buyers. It's important that we have not only interesting features that attract young home buyers, but also keep them here for years to come.
And we believe that downtown is becoming a hot spot for new, innovative uses all the time. But when we asked the public this question, we were surprised by their response.
Not really. I go to school downtown, and there's not really much to do like after school.
No, not really. I think there are some interesting things, like going out by houses, so I think it can be interesting.
Not that I know of. I mean, the fall festival, obviously, and there's things they have during the summertime as well, but not on a regular basis.
Walking by the river, walking through the park or the walking trail. That's pretty much it, unless you're at nighttime and you really want to walk, you just get to see all the lights, see what's downtown.
It's kind of, you go downtown, you go to school, and then you come back, because there's more stuff on the east side and the north side, not very much down there at all.
Now that you've heard thoughts from our community, we feel we have an idea that would not only bring a uniqueness to downtown, but that would excite people of all ages. Our solution? Musical swings.
The musical swings have been tested in several different areas, such as Montreal and San Jose, California. And according to the swing's official website, it has done an excellent job of breaking down barriers between people groups by giving them something to connect over.
Our swings are unique and specially designed. Thanks to Terry Gottman, a swing manufacturer who assisted us in the process. The swings are weather resistant, and the additional benches mean that even those who can't swing can still use and enjoy them. This is really awesome. So, I know you're wondering, what's this going to cost? We're pleased to tell you that the cost total is going to be just less than $26,000. And that's a quote from our expert, who accounted for things such as the foundation, fabrication, even the sound system. This is great news. How are we going to pay for it, Jalen?
Well, we are excited to tell you that all of the responses we've received so far have been positive. We are meeting with the board of directors at Old National Bank in November about possible placement and sponsorship from them on their property.
We have also met with the director of the Downtown Improvement District, Joshua Armstrong, who gave us several funding and grant opportunities, some of which we have begun applying for. He also told us of 3 brand new locations that they are developing right now, and he offered to put our idea in these 3 locations.
We have also received absolute support from Parks and Recreation's manager of Mickey's Kingdom, Brian Holtz, who had expressed to us his interest in meeting with us about future possible placement of the swings near the parks downtown.
This is all great on paper, but what are the actual benefits of a musical swing, especially downtown? We spoke with April Kuhner, a music therapy major here at UE, and she explained to us that music and movement is a tool used most often by therapists to connect their patients with their bodies and emotions. With this, we got a quote from her saying that our swings would be the best form of stress relief in a busy area like downtown.
An additional benefit of our musical swings is the ability to attract the young and young at heart to our already attractive downtown business area. This activity will help millennials be excited to come to Evansville and build their future in such a unique city.
So, we love our musical swings, and we can't wait to see them become a reality downtown, but of course we do. So let's see what the people of Evansville have to say about it.
I think it'd be a great idea. I really do.
I think a lot of people would use them, honestly, yeah.
We would really like that, and it'd cause more people to go.
It would be a place that would kind of draw people in. I think it'd be great for Evansville.
That's something interesting to do down there, for sure.
Do you use them?
I would.
I probably would.
When I heard the idea, I was instantly intrigued. I think it would be fun for people of all ages.
I think it's fantastic. I think kids would have a blast with it. From the Y, we bring kids to places like this all the time to get a chance to play and to enjoy music. I think it'd be great. Looks fun.
Any way we can create a space for people to come together, it's a great thing for our entire community. I love the added element of music here.
There's never enough art within the landscape, so I think it's a way to put some musical art and even maybe be used in an art therapy kind of session too.
We know what music does for both adults and children and how good it is and what a connection it can create. So that just sounds like an awesome idea. I absolutely love it. So good exercise, good relaxation, good community building. Seems to check off all the boxes. That's really cool.
Wow, after seeing such a positive reaction, let's return back to our beginning scenario.
So what do you want to do afterwards?
Hey, what about those cool new musical swings downtown?
Oh yeah, let's go there tonight. Ashlyn, you want to come?
Absolutely. Would you join us?
Thank you for your time, everyone.
I love your idea, and it would be a great extension of the musical garden I'm working on right now down at 5th and Locust in front of the Children's Museum. So, and so I was interested in knowing if you've looked at other locations outside of those identified in the presentation, again, to be more attractive to a wide range of audiences.
We've looked into even making it possibly mobile, or maybe even Joshua Armstrong, he suggested that maybe we make it kind of like there's a time limit on it being there, like, oh, every 5 years it moves, so it'll bring interest to those areas. They know that's going to be different places, and that kind of can cause, attraction to go to this place and this place. So we'd definitely be interested in your place, too.
Could I add something? Yeah. The reason that we wanted to start off with downtown was because we feel like there's so much potential there with local businesses, and we really wanted to draw attention down there first.
So the $26,000, what does that get you? How many swings?
What was shown on the slide, those 3 swings, that's one unit. That would be the 26,000.
So 3 swings, and then were there 2? Was there one on each end also?
Yeah, the 2 benches on one end. Yeah.
Okay. Does that include installation?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, sweet.
The ground laying and everything. Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that this happened in St. Louis. Are the musical swings a standalone location, or are they incorporated in other parts of playgrounds and other types of things that bring people to the central location?
The ones that we've looked at are actually in Montreal and San Jose, California. So I don't know if there are ones in St. Louis, but the ones that I believe are in California, they are mobile, so they're able to move from location to location. And I believe that the areas they put it in, like in the video, that was in Montreal. That's in like the middle of a busy intersection, kind of. So, I mean, people can go there at any time, wherever they are. It doesn't have to necessarily be in a park.
Have you spoke to the last group about putting the musical swings in the park designed to help people with
We had just, that was our first time seeing that. We can get in touch with you guys.
And that was a great idea, by the way.
Yes, we love it. We spoke with another group about their park, so yeah. I mean, we just really we've also spoke with Mickey's Kingdom, Brian Holtz, and he gave us like the possibility of in the future putting it in Mickey's Kingdom.
Another interesting thing about our swing that's not really mentioned in the presentation is that it's not actually like needing a generator. It doesn't need to be plugged into a power source using money that way. It actually is motion powered the way that Terry Gottman designed it. He made it so that the motion of you swinging is kind of like a crank, and it develops the energy itself, so it's self-sustaining in that way.
Did I understand you correctly? Did you say that they are potentially portable as well?
Yes. I mean, it would cost money to move it from location to location. We haven't accounted for that yet, but that would definitely be possible.
So, great idea. When you were thinking about the problem, what was your second thought? What was the one that didn't make the cut when you decided on the swings?
Can you restate that? What?
Did you have a second best idea when you're thinking about how to de-stress for people that come downtown?
We thought somebody suggested a splash pad to us, and we also had an idea of putting murals around, but that didn't really have to do with stress relief. We had a lot of ideas.
Just curious, thanks.
But they're right on target because play is the #1 de-stressor for adults and children.
Thank you for your time.
There's a lot. First 30 pages of first tab. They're all a business plan, and the rest of that is just supplemental reading. So if you want to look at charts and stuff for the revenue and stuff, that should be at the very end of the supplemental packet. They got them.
Hi, I'm Sydney Judd. This is Lily Pease and Chloe Cooper. We're here today to tell you a little bit about our company, Flower Manco. But first, we'd like to tell you about this book, The Flower Man. There's this man who's colorful and full of light, but you see, he's going to a town that isn't doing so hot, and it's hard to see much hope. So this man buys the crappiest house in the neighborhood and turns it into something that's absolutely beautiful. The people take notice, especially a little girl, and from there, the city flourishes. This is the story of Evansville and the Voice Initiative. What other community has kids put input into the redesign of the riverfront for the affluent pump station? What other community can transform a place like Haney's Corner? This is due to involved city leadership and voice, and its findings of what the community wants. This study found that people of all demographics want experiences, city core, and green space/healthy living. This is where our plan comes in. We believe that the next blossom in the rosebush of revitalization is the NoCo district. NoCo is the district north of Court Street, which the downtown master plan labels as a maker's district. However, the number of makers is scarce. With the surrounding area being brought up and created into amazing spaces, such as what Mike Martin's doing with the Nabisco building, it would make sense to have the surrounding buildings match the culture being established. So all of this leads up to our company, Flower Manco.
We want to buy the building directly beside the old Nabisco factory and turn it into an artisan factory, small business incubator, collaborative workspace, change-making, artistic, industrial epicenter. And it will grow the community and redefine our idea of collaboration. Now, the plan is to buy the building and lease to artisan makers. We would lease by square foot, so the space itself could grow with the business. And at 41 cents per square foot a month, it is completely affordable. Plus, in comparison to similar businesses in larger cities, our cost of living will be very appealing to young creatives to stay here and come here from other cities. Plus, we would provide them with marketing assistance and point them towards the Chamber and the ISBDC and the Grow Local Veteran Loan. All of this would be like a kit to make expanding your business less stressful. Now, I know what you're thinking. How will that accrue profit? Well, for starters, we're going to profit off of everything that they make. And we'll even profit off of them after they have outgrown our walls. But we will make even more money by leasing the spaces in the building for various purposes. And if we have anything, it is space for leasing. Firstly, downtown needs warehousing space. And we've got the space. We have 4,800 square feet of floor space and 20-foot high ceilings just allotted to warehousing. We also have the potential to lease to a locally grown food market/hub, and this could be a distribution place for farm-to-table restaurants. It could also be like a permanent space for people to enjoy as much as they do the local farmers market and the Franklin Street Bazaar. We would also sell the goods that are currently being made in the factory. Some of those goods being food, which means we'll have a commercial kitchen. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about commercial kitchens, but they are so expensive to rent. And then if you can even get them at a reasonable price, you get them at horrible hours. So our plan is to rent our commercial kitchen. We would do it on an hourly basis, and it would be affordable. Now, this would be located between our local food market and our pop-up space. And you heard that right, we have a pop-up space, and it'll be 1,500 square feet, which is the perfect size for a trial business, because it's not so big it'd be hard to fill, but it will be big enough for the inevitable onslaught of people who want to see what's happening in this ever-changing space. And we still have space, of which we plan making a collaborative workspace for existing businesses to send their engineers and idea people. We'd also make it a space where UE change-making students could come and be able to work with innovators of every single kind, which can only elevate UE in its Ashoka status. So.
People here will work in all walks of life because we believe in growth. One of the coolest parts of the Flower Man book was watching the burglar make amends and rejoin society. That is one of our goals. We want to hire ex-convicts to work for us. They would mostly be used for the warehousing space and maintenance. We would also encourage the artisans to hire them as their business expands. A lot of these people are perfectly capable workers who aren't considered for jobs simply because they have to check the felon box. This is ridiculous when you consider that Evansville is currently facing a worker shortage, and crime rates are directly affected by poverty. Our plan is to provide them with work, regularly drug test them, assist with parole, testify on their behalf in drug court, and provide for future references for jobs. This will expand the city's hiring pool and reduce the population of our prison. So all in all, we have the experiences with the pop-ups and culture shift, city core to draw downtown and how it directly coincides with the master plan, and healthy living with our local food hub. The city is asking for this, and we can have it all in one. With all these we have all these millennial concepts helping people, supporting small businesses, and the fiscal benefits that are sure to intrigue boomers. We are talking about merging Evansville's deep-rooted industrial history with the artistic movement we've seen here in the past few years. This building is everything and still is in the black by the end of the first year of operations, which you can see in your supplemental reading packet underneath our business plan. You will also find some reports on individual items that we are proposing in the building and how they could work and have worked.
And we just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to share this idea with you and really giving us incentive to compile all of this in a way that we are now sending to loan officers, a project manager at IBM, and a development associate for LDI. And a special thanks to Jonathan Lamar and his team at LA&D for the renderings and floor plans, and to Julie Foltz in the Chamber and the ISBDC for the business help, and Josh Armstrong for all of his involvement. And we'd also like to thank the local artisans because in our field study, they gave us amazing input and overwhelming support.
So I'm not sure where to start. So
there's a lot.
There is a lot. This is really in depth. Good. Thanks. Cost of the building, and explain in a nutshell the structure of the organization that will run the entire operation.
Okay, so the cost of the building, I believe right now, is at $279,000, which is great considering it's somewhere between 14,000 and 16,000 square feet, which is huge for what we're getting here. And right now, we're still trying to work that out a little bit. As of right now, we're looking at an adult to go in with the business because I can't exactly get a loan because I don't have credit. But, oopsie, no assets. Anyway, but what we're considering, what we're going with right now with the team that we have is that we have these ladies mostly under operation, and I'm typically more of the public speaker slash kind of more of the idea person, but they get crap done. So that's the essential of what we're going with right now. It's still to be developed.
I'll give you a lot of credit for the thought of employment. I've just had a meeting with the state the week before last in the Department of Corrections on the availability of workforce of men and women coming out of prison. So that's very thoughtful, and I appreciate that.
Because we just know so many people who are so capable and who just had a little issue in their life, or they were poor or something happened, and now they can't find work and they've gotten their life together, and it's really sad. And the thing is, they're great people. It's just they need something to be able to get them back into that availability to work.
So I love the food hub idea. It's kind of my thing. What have you looked at some other food hubs around to get some ideas of how those could come together? Because you got to figure out the target, I'm guessing.
Mostly what we've done is read a little bit in the report that's in your packet right there, that really long book of paper. But we've talked a little bit with Robin Mallory and just like in light discussion. But mainly we've just noticed what people really like. And that's people in Evansville just love local things, and they love this fresh idea of food, and being able to get it in a mass way just seems convenient.
If you want to keep working on that, call me later.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
So once you purchase the building, I'm channeling my kind of inner budget here.
Yes.
what other infrastructure would you need around it to make this work?
Like, do you care to elaborate a little on that?
Would you need parking? Would you need to come up with
Parking.
parking?
I'm glad you mentioned that. We did actually think about that a little bit, and we talked to Joshua Armstrong, and they recently did a study for a different entity and found that there is more than enough parking to support the kind of business that we're doing and the business that they were talking to.
Renovation costs.
Renovation costs?
Renovation. How are you funding the renovation? Sprinkler systems, sprinkler retrofit.
All of that should be in, well, whenever we had the architect do it, we had him run the numbers, and it came to a pretty hefty price, although currently we are talking to loan officers, and they like our idea, so as long as we can get a deposit on that, and that will be up to investors, of which currently we are trying, like we have made contact with and are currently exchanging emails.
Round number.
Round number? About $1 million, because it's $1 million idea. Yep. And now we have to clean up. Where do I put this?
Was there one of those for me? Oh, all right. We can share. We'll share.
They're actually different pictures.
Oh, they are
different
different
photos.
How many pictures are there?
I guess 5 maybe, 4 or 5. Can you give you a picture too?
No.
Those are 2, maybe 3, 4 pictures.
Good morning. I'm Caroline Haney.
And I'm Robert Lopez, and this is Roots, our initiative to make Evansville greener. So what do you picture when you think of Evansville? Maybe you think of the incredible revitalization of downtown. Perhaps you think of the advances in education and opportunity with the new Med Center. Or maybe you think of this very competition where incredible ideas come to life. Well, we think of all of that, and we sum it all up in one motto: E is for everyone.
We are creating a wetland education park that will not only make Evansville greener, but it will also solve a problem that has plagued this city for decades. It will increase economic interest in tourism to downtown Evansville, and it will inspire generations of children to care about the environment.
So Evansville still faces some serious issues despite these great advances. The Ohio River is the #1 polluted river in the entire United States, with over 30 million pounds of chemicals being dumped into it a year. With combined sewage overflows and decaying pipes, Evansville has seen a steady increase in flooding, especially of polluted floodwater reaching the Ohio River, inevitably leading to costly construction and, of course, a higher dollar amount coming out of you, the ratepayers' pockets. So thankfully, the Evansville Water Sewer Utility has given Evansville a budget of $730 million to fix these issues, setting out $16.5 million of that budget just for putting back green space. So we, in collaboration with the EWSU, are creating something that will make Evansville a shining example of what a truly progressive city is.
The cities of the future are already taking a green approach to their problems, so why don't we? We offer a park with a purpose. You may ask, how can a park combat pollution? The answer lies in our roots. Evansville used to be a wetland environment, but increased industrialization has caused problems, primarily with flooding. Rainwater no longer has anywhere to go, so it floods our streets, picks up pollutants, and gets dumped into the river without ever being treated. We aim to fix this by putting back some of that wetland. Tanner Springs, a park in Portland, Oregon, faced similar problems and fixed it through a process called phytoremediation, a big word for a simple yet effective method. Here's how it works. Our park will feature a downgrade where rainwater will collect. From there, pollutants will be cleansed from it through the roots, leaving cleaner water than ever before that never has to be dumped into our river.
And now we will walk you through that very park that we have designed with assistance from Hayfor Design. So we have included many features inside this park that aren't just plants, so that everyone can find something that they truly love about it. And the first thing we bring to you is the Bike Share program, a previous Changemaker design. And as we move our focus towards the center of the park, you are in a nice wooded seating area, all provided by Green Tree Plastics. This would be a great place to just relax or enjoy nature, maybe even a speech. And as we move towards the middle of the park, we are greeted with lovely artwork. And in this example, there's a place for kids to play around and enjoy their surroundings. And then we move to an amphitheater of sorts, where an audience could sit, look over the water, and enjoy the many features.
Here is the wetland water feature. You can go here to learn about biology, conservation, and change-making through educational signs provided for by Sycamore Land Trust in English and Spanish. And here we have the Community, a previous Changemaker design featuring both free Wi-Fi and a charging station. More local art will be solicited from the Arts Council of Southwestern Indiana. And next, we have a more private seating area on the edge of the park. People can go here to get away from the busier aspects and do things like study or read a book, all while enjoying nature. And then we have a more public seating area, which we are leaving open to interpretation. We want to hear from you about what you want to see in this park. And finally, we have a bit more artwork, all from local artists to empower this community. This is our park.
So back in 2013, Leadership Evansville did a study that showed what Evansville wanted most. First was green space, followed by healthy physical activities, and of course they wanted it all right in downtown. Every other category highlighted in green is a category that directly correlates with our park in some way, shape, or form. So now that we've shown you both the eco-friendly benefits and why Evansville really wants this park, let's just talk business. Green space historically has brought great economic interest to surrounding areas, and our first example of that is the Monon Trail in Indianapolis. As soon as it was implemented, real estate value skyrocketed by nearly $1 billion, and a waiting list had to be created just for businesses to get near it. And then we looked at Tanner Springs, a park we mentioned earlier. Previously a highly industrial area, now renamed the Pearl District just because of the park's implementation, which saw great economic and social boom. And then, of course, when you're talking green space and outdoors, you have health benefits. And the EPA have done studies that show that just being outside increases both mental and physical health drastically. And what's great about that is with the Newton Med Center and many clinics being nearby, our park caters to those communities in more ways than one. And the best part about this whole thing is it's cost effective. The EPA has also done another study that shows green infrastructure like our park in Tanner Springs is more cost effective than gray infrastructure alternatives like combined sewer systems and sewer tanks.
We have amazing news. This park will happen. Funding is completely provided for by the Evansville Federal Consent Decree, with that $16.5 million going towards green space. Renew Evansville is taking charge of this initiative and will keep the park up to full functionality once implemented. This is great for everyone in this audience because this is half as expensive as the alternative, the underground sewer tanks, meaning it will lower what you, the ratepayers, pay.
Jane Jacobs, an activist, writer, and journalist, once said, "Cities have the capability of providing something for everybody only because and only when they are created by everybody." So we would like to thank everyone that has joined us on this truly amazing journey thus far, especially those listed here on the screen. We want this to be your park just as much as it is ours. We want your input, your support, and first and foremost, we want your collaboration to see Evansville truly greener. This is Roots, and this is the future.
Ready? Have you thought about adding musical swings and sensory areas for the disabled?
Oh, there have been several inspiring projects out here.
Oh yeah, they approached us after the first round of competitions. We exchanged phone numbers, and our timelines kind of line up in a general sense, so we plan on implementing and talking to a few other groups about different things here that we've seen today to put into the park, for sure.
Kudos, quoting Jane Jacobs. That's a good perspective to start from. I think it's an interesting project, and I'm new to town, but I have looked at the whole Beeline Slough plan, and it seems like there's a lot of good thinking in this that would be a great alignment. So my question is, do you have any sense of how much water runoff you catch in a one-block park, which this kind of is?
Well, Tanner Springs in Portland will catch 100% of their goal by the end of the implementation of that park, so we expect the same thing as we're modeling it similarly after them.
And seeing such a park hasn't been done in Evansville, it's a little hard to get rough estimates or even a guesstimate of what kind of water we would be catching. But seeing as it's downtown, which has historically received a lot of flooding over the years, we expect to catch quite a bit of what our quota would be.
So I know that you indicated that the cost would be paid for by the $16.5 million that's part of the consent decree. How much of that $16.5 million would be utilized to be able to create this?
That's undetermined right now because there are several projects that have to go through before we can get to this one, such as B Slough and a lot of the pipe reconstruction. But Mike Libitsky is very fond of this project, and we think it can get through very easily.
And
Plus, we have...
As far as the price range goes, we can't really give you a rough estimate because it's so early in development, but we do look to Tanner Springs, which has used essentially the same system that we will be implementing, and their park was around $2.8 million. So with the upscaling of our park being a little bigger than theirs, we're kind of in the ballpark of 3.5, but we're also talking to Hafer Design, see how much it would cost to hire an architect, and we are talking to a few other places in Evansville just to kind of get like excavation costs, so on and so forth.
What would the construction time period be?
That is an interesting question. I can say that we're not entirely sure yet. It really does depend on how the rest of this 30-year plan goes, really, with the sewer renovations. We think that the timeline could be expedited by the partnership that we're forming with Toyota. We have to meet with them in January 1st to really give you a good estimate.
So does something else have to happen first before this project can begin?
As far as what has to happen first, Mike is still in the process of looking at the lots. He's thinking it's very promising. He's still in the process of buying them, but there are some things to work out with that. But as far as what's going to delay us to that 4 to 5 year period, which is what we're looking at about the fastest, it really just comes down to all of the things that Mike is trying to implement into Evansville at the same time, and we're just kind of on a pipeline at the moment, but he is determined to get it put in one way or another, whether that's sooner or later.
I'm enamored by the plan. Is there a plant list? You know what kind of plants do best at accomplishing this filtering?
We are talking to Sycamore Land Trust. That's who we plan on getting a lot of our information from. They're the same people that are going to put signs in the park, so that a big thing that we had also talked about with Mike is that with B Slough, while it's massive in scope, it's not something you can just walk up and stick your toe in the water and just kind of, touch all the plants, because then you're messing up the process. So the great thing about our park having these wetlands is that since there'll be educational signs, they can get the science behind this giant, canal that's almost being put into Evansville, and they'll understand exactly what the plants are doing.
And we will also be using native plants, and we're going to be using a mixture of soil and sand to help the process. We don't have an exact plant list yet, but we know that we want to use native plants.
I like the point about it being kind of the place you can go to experience the bigger project, because that has some merit.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to present to you today. Before we begin, please join me in taking a deep breath. While this deep breath may have felt calming and refreshing, our research indicates that you actually just inhaled multiple dangerous pollutants that could be harming your health as we speak. How can we work to reduce the amount of toxins that are in our air? My name is Lydia Masner.
I'm Hannah Gorley.
And I'm Kaylee Tabor.
And our team, Art for Life, is about to combat this problem.
Society is largely unaware of how pollution affects us. Most of you might not know that Evansville is in the top 3% of 893 urban areas for total emissions released into the air. The quality of our air is comparable to that of Hong Kong. These emissions come from hundreds of sources and are hurting our community more than we realize.
In 2014, Evansville and the surrounding counties set a new record for the most greenhouse gases produced by any U.S. city. The number one culprit, particulate matter 2.5, is present in a large abundance in the tri-state area, as shown in this diagram. The darkest color blue represents the greatest amount of particulate matter 2.5 in our country.
According to the CDC, when particulate matter 2.5 is inhaled, the tiny particles get stuck in the lungs and the blood vessels and can cause heart attacks and even strokes. This is partially why the World Health Organization has dubbed air pollution as the world's #1 cause of environmental health risk. This is, think of someone right now that you love that is being affected by one of these diseases. Our bad air quality is hurting these people in every breath that they take.
Air pollution can cause both mild and severe health issues. Nearly everyone suffers from headache and fatigue, which can be caused by bad air quality. This year, Washington University studied 1.7 million veterans and found a strong connection between particulate matter 2.5 and diabetes, even at low levels of air pollution considered safe by the EPA.
If we can reduce air pollution, we can impact millions of people in the tri-state area. Art for Life is excited to present our proposal for a renewable, sustainable, and innovative solution to our pollution problems. Art for Life will purify our air, impact those with associated medical conditions, and do all of this with an artistic flair.
In March of this year, the University of Brescia in Italy discovered a material they proved will absorb pollution. As you can see in this diagram, the material works as an air filter, cleaning the air of certain toxins as the air passes through the material.
This material is composed of sodium alginate and silica fume. When combined, these two reactants form a product that will absorb pollution, specifically particulate matter 2.5. Put simply, as shown in the diagram, particulate matter 2.5 is any particle smaller than half a human hair. This includes carbon monoxide and other heavy metals present in our air. Is this what you want to be breathing in?
The material can be used in two ways. It can be 3D printed or used to coat existing structures, such as lampposts, railings, benches, and even buildings. In any form, the material acts much like a filter in your home air conditioning system. On the screen is an image from the actual study showing what the material would look like while being 3D printed.
The material requires little to no upkeep once it is placed because it is refreshed by ozone, which is already present in our atmosphere in abundance. In addition, methanol can be used to give the material a total reboot, essentially cleaning the material for reuse.
The image on the screen was taken from the study and shows a sample of the material before and after being exposed to diesel pollution for just 15 minutes. This shows the material's capability to absorb particulate matter 2.5.
Art for Life will use this material to build sculptures around the Evansville area. Once initial sculptures are placed, companies will be able to sponsor a sculpture of their logo and place it on their property to show their dedication to giving back to the environment of our community.
We partnered with an Indianapolis architect, Andrew Hallman, to create a prototype design for sculptures in Evansville. On the left of the screen is his proposed design. Initial sculptures could be placed on the Evansville riverfront, as shown here, by the I-69 entrance to Vanderburgh County, as shown in this image, and even on UE's campus itself.
Since this project can take many forms, the budget is very flexible. We can only estimate costs at this time because the material is not yet on the market. We contacted Shapeways 3D printing company, and they told us that it would cost around $20,000 to produce a 4x8 by 12 foot sculpture using this material. Additional project costs would include building permits and purchasing patent rights from Italy.
Art for Life will have a monumental impact. We expect to see a major reduction in particulate matter 2.5 levels as each new sculpture is added. Heather Dugans, a respiratory therapist from Deaconess Gateway Hospital, has seen the effects of high allergy and asthma rates in the Ohio Valley. She told us that if we can reduce any of the irritants in our air, we will also reduce these high allergy and asthma rates. Think of the impact this would have on those you love with the medical conditions that we mentioned earlier.
With new art all over our city, Evansville will be a cleaner, more beautiful place for residents to live and enjoy. Potentially, these sculptures could bring national attention to Evansville as a city of innovation seeking to serve the community by bettering the environment. And if these sculptures work the way the study has showed them to, the impact of this project would equate global change.
Pollution is not just a problem in Evansville. In the future, Art for Life would like to see these sculptures throughout the U.S., starting locally with Indianapolis and moving to larger cities such as Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York. We believe the implementation of this material is feasible in every community and will generate cleaner air throughout the world.
Our goal is to impact our local community, the state of Indiana, and the world by reducing pollution and improving health. Art for Life can and will revolutionize quality of life for Hoosiers present and future.
Art for Life will absorb riverfront toxins, renew our air quality, and transform Evansville into a cleaner, more beautiful place to live. Let's start sculpting now.
Thank you so much for your time. What questions can we answer for you?
My first question is about how would you measure success of the sculptures?
So we were not able to mention this in our presentation, but the study also described a trial that was done that used 1 cubic centimeter of the material in an unknown amount of water with a model pollutant. And with this model pollutant, the cubic centimeter of the material absorbed the model pollutant at 94% efficiency. So while we do not have specific numbers regarding how much impact it would have, we do know that it can absorb a pollutant at 94% efficiency.
In addition to that, like Lydia said, the material was put into water. This can actually absorb air and water pollution, but we didn't quite have time to fit all that into the presentation. So the idea is to have these on the riverfront, and when it floods, it will be able to absorb the water pollution then.
So how long before the material is on the market, and then how do you organize the effort to get these companies to, you're basically asking them to redo their company signage, it sounds like. So who kind of organizes that? How's it structured?
So to answer your first question, the patent is in the process right now, but it can, like you know, patents can take up to 20 years to get done. There was a professor at USI, I'm going to hand it over to Lydia to talk a little bit more about that.
Dr. Seiler, the head of the chemistry department at USI, read this study, and we asked him to confirm whether or not this material could be made in the U.S. with resources here, whether or not the patent is passed in Italy, and he said, yes, we can make it here using materials that we have. And so to answer the second part of your question, we can actually use products that are made in America to actually make this. And so I'm going to let Kaylee talk a little bit more about how answer the second part of your question.
So while we don't have a organization right now, but we have talked to E's for Everyone, or E's for Evansville, and they have mentioned that they would love to support us in this, and that's kind of where we're going to take our initial start from, and then move on to businesses, asking them to kind of give back to their community and show their support.
So I'm kind of afraid to go outside right now. But in your estimation, how many pieces of sculpture would it take, say, to refresh the air in the downtown area?
Yeah. So as Lydia mentioned, the model pollutant absorbed at 94% efficiency, and as she also said, we don't have actual numbers of how much pollution will be absorbed by each sculpture, but we do know that as each new sculpture is added and as more buildings and lampposts and other structures are coated, the pollution in our air will be reduced significantly with each new addition with the material. Thank you.
coming today. See you again. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today, you guys. Hi. Ready? Okay. Hello, my name is Paige.
My name is Emma.
And my name is Jackson, and today we will be speaking with you about the Darien Project. My cousin Darien was a normal kid when he entered high school. He maintained good grades and even received a scholarship to play college lacrosse. Unfortunately, he struggled with the transition of becoming a young adult and became addicted to alcohol, cigarettes, and prescription drugs. One night in the emergency room, my family and I watched as Darien died 3 times in just a couple of hours. 2 years later, he received a heart transplant, but later he relapsed and has fallen victim to addiction yet again.
So Darien is not the only one that's been affected by these issues. As a team, we have identified 3 main problems in the Evansville area: addiction, mental illness, and suicide. These issues are deeply rooted in our lives and the lives of countless others in the Evansville area. There's a hormone in the brain called dopamine, and a recent study at Harvard revealed that there is a genetic correlation between how many dopamine receptors a person has and their vulnerability to addiction. So people with fewer dopamine receptors often don't get the satisfaction they normally would, and therefore turn to alcohol, drugs, or other vices to give them that pleasure. One crisis facing our nation is opioids. 2 million people in the United States are addicted to opioids. And in Evansville, the number of people addicted to opioids is actually higher than the national average. 2 in 5 people are addicted. So if we take a look at the 2,443 students currently enrolled at the University of Evansville, this means that 977 of those students could be addicted in their lifetime. Now let's take a look at an issue that affects an even larger scale of people. Today, we are wearing green ribbons in support of mental health awareness. Mental health issues affect over 1/3 of the United States population. Break it down even smaller, and we can see that 3 in 5 Hoosiers experience mental health problems in their lifetime. The average class size in Indiana for a secondary school is 26 students, which means that 16 of those students in every class could experience mental health problems in their lifetime. That is a jarring statistic when you picture a child you love sitting in a classroom right this minute. A recent social media poll revealed that out of over 400,000 voters, 91% agreed that mental health needs to be openly discussed in the classroom. We met with Mayor Winnicky about this topic, and he completely agreed. He told us, quote, "I believe mental health needs to be more openly discussed and considered as a part of the educational curriculum." Over the last 10 years, the suicide rate for teens aged 15 to 19 years old has gone up 31% for men. And for women, the number of completed suicides is the highest in the Center for Disease Control's recorded history. In Indiana, our home, we have the highest rate of adolescents who consider suicide. Because we've seen these issues throughout our lives, we wanted to bring a program that can be proactive and save the lives of thousands. We need to keep other kids like Darien from becoming just another statistic.
Our proposed solution to these issues is a curriculum that could be piloted in the 6th grade and hopefully expanded to all grades in the future. This curriculum would give students insight on the issues previously stated and provide them the coping skills they need for whenever they come into contact with these issues. We would like to target the 6th grade first because research shows that most prepubescent brain development happens between ages 12 and 13. We have our solutions split up into 3 phases. In the first phase, we would like to see a shared professional development that school corporations can implement without needing to add staffed therapists. Professional development is the training teachers receive that provide them with the strategies they need to aid a kid in crisis. An example of this is training a teacher how to pause and perform breathing exercises that could help students process the information and minimize the amount of anxiety they may be experiencing. The second phase is deploying specialized therapists and adding cognitive lesson plans into schools. Currently, there is only one specialized therapist therapists in the EVSC and Warwick County School Corporations. The purpose of Phase 2 is to add one specialized therapist to every middle school in both corporations. These specialized therapists could collaborate with the teachers and help them develop lesson plans that further benefit the students. This could be something as simple as helping teachers create a writing prompt that could ask students to discuss their emotions or feelings. These lesson plans could also aid teachers in finding time for brain breaks that allow students to recognize when they're becoming overwhelmed by their emotions. These techniques can be used over a lifetime and can help take away the social stigma of discussing feelings. It is imperative that the kids know how to cope with these issues so their parents know how to support them too. The third and final phase of our solution is to have our proposed curriculum become part of the state standard. Our proposed curriculum directly correlates with Indiana's 6th grade health standard 045206, which states that decision-making, stress management, communication, social, and assertiveness skills must be taught. We believe that if the social stigma is removed and students understand what they are feeling and how to prevent the issue from escalating, everyone benefits. We will hopefully train the students in techniques that can help them make better choices when it comes to substance abuse or self-harm.
In 2017 alone, Indiana spent $4.3 billion on the economic burden of opioids. This includes health care, children born dependent on opioids, criminal justice involvement, and other reasons. If you break that down, it equates to about $11 million every day spent on opioids. Indiana spends 3 times the national average, and over the last 15 years, we've spent a total of $43.3 billion on opioids. We would like to see this money go towards education and prevention. The first phase of our plan would be free. We would utilize the existing specialized therapists already employed by the school systems to carry out the first phase. The second phase is the most costly. To employ 14 specialized therapists, which means one for every middle school in the EVSC and Warwick County School Corporations, it's estimated to cost around $650,000. But if you calculate that out, it means that every person currently living in Evansville would have to pay just $5 for this program. The third phase of our plan would also be free, since it would use the specialized therapists already employed by Phase 2 to carry out that phase. Here are just 3 of the federal grants that we believe our program would qualify for. The first 2 are for preventative programs with solutions to the opioid crisis, and the final one is for youth suicide prevention and mental health initiative. We've also contacted government officials and several companies in the area about funding our idea. The name Darien means upholder of the good. We believe that every child is good and deserves the best opportunity to thrive, but we also realize that some may fall victim to addiction and mental illness. Our curriculum is not only intended to change the lives of the students, but ultimately save the lives of kids just like Darien. Thank you.
Well, first, congratulations on addressing an issue that touches you so personally. Just an observation, there's a wonderful not-for-profit in Evansville called Youth First, and they provide social workers in many schools in southwest Indiana. As you continue researching this project, I would, if you haven't already, sit down with Perry Black and her team. They could be a tremendous resource, and there may be a way to pursue funding through that organization to accomplish the same goal, so you're not sort of competing for doing kind of the same thing. So just an observation.
Would you be able to implement part of what you want to do without changing the curriculum? In other words, by adding another staff member to each of the schools, so the 14 therapists, how does that affect it without changing the curriculum, and can you do it that way?
Yeah, so the professional development would be just training teachers to use tactics in the classroom, such as like breathing exercises or brain breaks. So it wouldn't necessarily like change their curriculum, but it would help students recognize when they're overwhelmed by their emotions and how to cope with those in like certain stressful situations, like before a test or something like that.
Also, a difference between what we're trying to do and like the normal 6th grade health class is that a normal 6th grade health class would only teach kids how to would only teach kids about the mental health issues or the things that they may experience in their life, but our class would ultimately teach them how to cope with those issues that they could ultimately use for the rest of their life.
Can you tell me again your reasoning for starting at 6th grade?
Oh yeah. So we would like our ultimate goal is to have this program or this curriculum implemented to like all grades, but we would like to start with 6th grade because that's the perfect target age, because when you're in 6th grade, you're 12 or 13, and that's when most prepubescent brain development happens.
2 questions. Is that cheating? Oh, good. Okay, so question 1, $5 for every person in Vanderbilt County. Would you be proposing a referendum to add $5 to the current school tax? And the second question, do you foresee different curricula in different schools? I would think that different populations in different schools would approach this topic differently, have different priorities. You know, a school in one neighborhood may not have the same student body makeup as a school in another. There's different stressors in different neighborhoods. Do you see differences in curriculum?
To answer the $5 question, that was just to give you insight on it would only cost $5 per person. So really it's for saving someone's life that you love. It's really not that much, that's expensive, but we don't plan on charging $5 for each person. We believe that we're able to get funding other places, such as we talked to government officials. Currently, the state representative, Ron Bacon, he's looking for state funding that we could get for it. And we've also contacted Deaconess, and they've got back to us, and they said that grants would probably be available to fund this project as well.
Yeah, and then your question about the demographics, we have looked at that and we didn't have time to talk about it in the presentation. But so the specialized therapist would be able to reach out to children individually. So like if they recognize that a student is struggling in one area, then the specialized therapist would be able to reach out and help that student privately. So it would be more one-on-one training.
One more question? So you started off talking about the dopamine connection, and I thought that was really impactful. Have you thought about looking at it from other angles, like figuring out who's got that dopamine sensitivity and how that might factor into your work?
When we spoke with Mayor Winicky, he agreed with us on this. We didn't want to target a specific group of people. We didn't want to say this kid is poor or they don't have enough money or they're a certain ethnicity or a minority, so they need to be targeted. We wanted everyone to be required because ultimately these issues that we're facing could happen to anyone, and it could be the best of people who you would never believe would be affected by these issues that are. Thank you.
They're getting better, right? So yeah, bring it back with you. It might help as you deliberate. So they're selling. Right. You're learning. Right? Leave name plates or anything, really just your binder and material. And I'll walk back with you.
our internet viewers, I just wanted to mention for the folks at home watching on live stream, they may not realize that we are currently on a scoring break for the judges to tally the scores for the 6 teams. We will return with results in about 30 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, we ready to get started? Woo, it's tense in here. All right, very quickly, we do have a gift for everyone, just in the form of Zach Parsons. He's just kind of generally a gift, but he does actually have tangible gifts for you. Zach Parsons with Honeymoon Coffee Company just across the block, and TEDx Evansville and social entrepreneurship professor here, who has worked with many of you as you've gotten ready, has something to share with you.
Yeah. So, no. So, that was cute. Thanks, by the way. So I looked it up. It's Thomas Edison who said that it goes 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration to achieve success. And I saw a lot of you guys at the beginning of this process and got to work with some of you during the middle of it. And what I saw up there was truly inspiring. So instead of just being inspired, I wanted to perspire a little bit. So I contacted my team at TEDx Evansville, and if your parents will let you, and if you want to, and if you haven't missed too much school this Friday, all the final teams will be able to get free tickets to TEDx Evansville from 1 to 5 p.m. this Friday, and a backstage VIP experience to talk with Hannah Yaramillo, who is also going to be giving her very own TEDx talk. She is a former Changemaker Challenge participant, current UE student, Changemaker extraordinaire, and we would be extremely honored if you guys would be interested in joining us for that. So we will send an email with more information. You have inspired so many people in this room, but really the lesson from this, there will be one winner. The lesson really is don't let what you've learned here stop you from doing more and more and more if you don't happen to win. Okay? Be encouraged. You've inspired us. We hope you keep inspiring others. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Zach. So the way this will work is I'll announce the two finalists that aren't in the top four. That's kind of random order for those two. And then we will go 4, 3, 2, 1. I will have the whole team come up here. And as Zach mentioned about not quitting, there's a community Changemaker challenge that we're opening up to this entire region. I want to see every single one of your ideas in that competition. It's going to be Shark Tank style with WNIN and televised on March 1st. So be checking our websites for that. It's going to be super fun. I hope you all continue. So before you start throwing tomatoes at me, I'll get going. No more stalling. So the very first finalist from our top 6 is, and the whole team come up, Boonville. And just to introduce the two gentlemen up on stage with me, they're not just trophy handlers. That's Dr. Shane Davidson and Ken Hargis, Director of Enrollment and Director of Admissions, and responsible for your scholarships. So you can thank them. Now they'll be a little nicer to you. All right, the next finalist, North Team 3. Congratulations. And in 4th place, where every member on the team will receive a $1,000 scholarship should they choose to come here, is Castle CBT. All right, next. In third place, with each member on the team receiving $2,500 in scholarships, Castle Hope Park. And I realize when we announce second, we will know who's in first place, but please let's try to be respectful to this achievement. In second place, and I can't say how close this was, it was the closest ever, receiving $5,000 in scholarships, each member on the team, is Bossy. Congratulations. All right, without further ado, in first place, with each member on the team winning 4-year full tuition scholarships to the University of Evansville, is North Team 1. Thank you to all of you. This is beyond an inspiring day for us. I've choked up several times. I've had goosebumps several times. At least the 6 that I saw in here today, I hope every single one of you gets it done, and I can confirm that the judges in the room are already conspiring. So you'll be hearing from a lot of the people who are here. Please use the purple backdrop for photos. Teachers, thank you again for making this possible. And from the bottom of my heart, everyone's a change maker, and we will see you next year.